Let's talk about how hair loss impacts your mental well being and resources that can help support you through all aspects of your hair loss journey. I'm Blake Brooks. I'm a board certified dermatologist and hair loss specialist. And on this channel, I talk about all things related to hair, with some things skin and beauty thrown in too. If that sounds like content you're interested in, please like this video, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any new content. I put out videos on a regular basis, so if there's something you want to learn about, just let me know. I recently went to the Scarring Alopecia Foundation meeting in Tennessee. It was an amazing meeting. The majority of the people at the meeting were actually patients, and there were a number of patient panels where these amazing patients went in front of everybody and made themselves beautifully vulnerable to talk about their experiences with hair loss. I so appreciated them, and I think so many people learned so much. These patients were all people with scarring hair loss processes. So let's back up here and just kind of revisit this. So hair loss from a high level is often divided into two big categories. Scarring hair loss, meaning there's an inflammatory process that destroys the hair follicle, leading to scarring and an inability to regrow hair that's lost. Non-scarring hair loss, there's no destruction of the hair follicle, so there is the potential for regrowth. Common scarring hair loss processes include things like LPP, FFA, CCCA. And then common non-scarring hair loss processes include things like telogen effluvium, alopecia areata, and male and female pattern hair loss. While the meeting focused on scarring hair loss and all the patients who spoke experienced those forms of hair loss, I think what they shared about the psychological impact of hair loss is very relevant to all forms of hair loss. The tagline for the conference was great. We get it. It's more than just hair. And I think that's such an important part of all of this. For so many of these patients, there's such a large impact on quality of life, and their feelings are unfortunately often diminished because these aren't life-threatening situations and are to some considered cosmetic. But we have to remember, there is not such a hard and fast line between cosmetic and non-cosmetic issues. When hair loss starts to impact sense of self, self-worth, mood, that is not cosmetic. So to share some of the sentiments that were discussed, I'm going to speak from their perspective and relay some of the paraphrased quotes that I think best captures the experience of hair loss. Now, hair loss and the shame I feel from this is something I have to carry. I went through stages of grief and shock and denial. I kept thinking what others would say to me. At least you don't have cancer. At least you still look good. But I just felt so alone. My care team said to get a new brush. The thing that was the hardest for me was identity. My hair was a part of my identity. Some days I feel a lot of anger that I didn't get treatment earlier, and some days I feel a lot of conflict regarding whether to try for treatment again. I'm afraid to hope. The psychological impact of hair loss, it's been really well studied. Hair is tied to identity and body image, and in all types of hair loss, there are significant emotional implications. Compared with the general public, people with hair loss have an increased prevalence of mental health challenges, including depression, anxiety, social phobias. So let's go back to that tagline. We get it. It's more than just hair. So how can we support people with hair loss? Patients talked about what helped them, and there were definite themes. So I'm paraphrasing again. Connection is extremely important. Connection is so important. Every conversation at this conference has warmed my heart. Finding a hair specialist, finding someone I trusted. There are amazing resources for people with hair loss. The first thing, find a hair specialist who will take the time to speak with you and to accurately diagnose you, which is so important. Misdiagnoses, that was another theme of this conference, and it's a really common and important point. Hair loss is complicated. It's often more than one thing, and you need someone to look at your scalp closely with a dermatoscope. That's kind of like a handheld microscope. It's really easy to miss diagnoses, and time without correct treatment, it leads to worse outcomes. There is a website, docs4hair.com. I'm going to link it below. They have a really nice feature that connects people with hair loss specialists in their area. It was created by physicians and hair loss specialists. It's highly reputable. If you have a scarring form of hair loss, scarringalopecia.org has a form you could submit to be referred to a doctor in your area. That's great. As a rule of thumb, larger academic dermatology departments will usually be able to guide you to hair specialists if they don't have an in-house hair specialist. I would be very wary of online hair loss groups. I made a video of this. If you haven't seen it, I'm going to link it here. I would recommend seeing it. I do think there's a benefit to them. They provide early access, and there's unfortunately not very many hair specialists across the country. That being said, you need to have an in-person exam if you can. Someone needs to look with a microscope at your scalp. It is so easy to miss diagnoses. It is so easy for me. If I have somebody who comes in and they say, hey, here's the clinical story, sometimes it sounds like a completely different type of hair loss than what I see under the microscope. So if I were on an online company, it would be really easy to miss something. If you can, have somebody at least diagnose you in person. Hair loss is often managed by a group of professionals, including trichologists and stylists, and your hair specialist will likely be able to guide you towards other people who can help you with your hair care regimen and hairstyles that are less damaging to the hair. There's a great group called Strand, Strand. I'll link them below too. They work to educate stylists on how to work in concert with dermatologists to assist patients with hair loss. They have a great directory on their website of stylists who have been trained through their workshop. Again, I'm linking that below. You can look there to see if there's a stylist in your area. The next thing is to find support in addition to the support you get from your family and your direct community of friends. So social media actually has excellent support groups. A great one is Trestless on Reddit, but there are many others. There are online support meetings, like the monthly meetings through Scarring Alopecia Foundation. You can find a link to that at their website, scarringalopecia.org. I'll link that below. There are wellness coaches that focus on hair loss. Kelly Rhymes, she's fantastic. She's a women's hair loss coach. I'll put her information below. There are national organizations like the National Alopecia Areata Foundation. They have a website with a list of support groups for people with alopecia areata. The Women Hair Loss Project, excellent online community of women dealing with hair loss. There's even radio programs. There's one called The Bald Truth. I'll link it below. They deal with the emotional difficulties faced by men and women suffering from hair loss. It's great. So finding your care team and your community is so important for hair loss. Remember, it's more than just hair. And there's a whole group of people out there who know that and to appreciate what you're going through. Let me know if there are any other resources you found that have been helpful. Comment, link them below, help this community out. And remember to follow for more tips and content, and I'll see you next time.